welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Module 3, which is all about writing a lesson to teach grammar using the concept called mentor sentences. Now we talked about mentor text and how we pull information and writing strategies from a book based on how the author used did their own writing. Mentor sentences is very similar. It's just a way of teaching grammar based on what students see in actual books. So I'm going to show you a PowerPoint that I would have shown you face-to-face if we were not under quarantine right now. The premise is the same. You read a book to students, you point out a passage, you get students to notice what they see stylistically, grammatically, not stylistically, just grammatically now. And we use that as a way to teach. I think I'm just going to jump right in and it'll make sense as I go. So let's turn on, there we go, mentor sentences, yay! So in order to teach with mentor sentences, first we need to do is pick a book. So I picked the book First Day Jitters, which is such a cute book. If you've not read it, I'm pretty sure it's in Huey Library. So whenever our quarantine is lifted, you can go check it out. So first you pick a book, then you choose a sentence from the book. So I chose a sentence, Sarah tumbled out of bed. And you ask your students to examine it. And so these are some prompts you might use. You might ask them, what do you see in this sentence? And take a minute, let them think, use your wait time, wait them out. Ask them, what do you notice that makes it a good sentence? Or ask them, does anything stand out? And you make a list of what students notice. And you honor everything that they notice. They might say, I see a word with an ED. Great, that's a very... we honor everything that students say, and then we know that that's a past tense verb, but they might not know that, but they do recognize that it starts or ends with an ED, and so you find teachable moments that way. So you make a list of everything students notice, and you embrace everything, and be prepared to model. Okay, so the first time you ask them what they notice, they probably will stare at you like deer in headlights. And so you need to write down what you notice. But remember, it's shared responsibility. It's gradual release of responsibility. So at some point, you need to make sure that the students are doing the noticing, not you. But some things that I noticed in that sentence is there was a proper noun, there was a vivid verb, there was a prepositional phrase, there was an adjective, and there was a simple sentence. Again, honor anything students say. If they say it, you write it down, because it shows that you value their opinion, even if you have to go back and reteach to address any misconceptions. Once you do that, you're going to see what students are noticing. And let me go back to that sentence. Maybe you've been studying proper nouns for a couple weeks now, and they really understand those. That'd be great. But if they're not, then you know, okay, that is where I need to have a mini lesson on what constitutes a proper noun. Or maybe they recognize, that Sarah is a proper noun, and they recognize it's the subject of a sentence, and they recognize past tense verb of tumble, but they don't know that this is a prepositional phrase. That might be a good place for a mini lesson. So basically, while they're noticing parts of the sentence, look for what they're not noticing, and that is a great place for you to have a mini lesson. Woo! Okay, so clearly, we don't have real students to practice with, so you're just going to have to pick one of the grammar concepts students did not notice and write a lesson plan for it. Use the gradual release model. So that same lesson plan format we've been using all semester, I want you to write a grammar lesson. This time, I want you to use the same mentor text that you used for Module 2, if you can, if you still have access to it. There's a lot of evidence that students learn more through repeated readings. So it's always a good idea to revisit books multiple times, because the students will just look deeper into the layers of what makes it a good book, of what makes the writing quality writing, of what makes the grammatical choices good fit for the story. So take your time, do that. Okay, we're going to fast forward in time. We're going to pretend you've already written and submitted your mini lesson, and this is how you would keep teaching mentor sentences in the classroom. After you do your mini lesson, you would go into day 2, and so this teaching model sets itself up perfectly for the 5-day school week. On day 2, you discuss particular parts of speech in the sentence. So here we identify that Sarah's a proper noun. We label the vivid verb. We label the out as an adverb, but it's also a prepositional phrase. And you have a little conversation about them. On day 3, so that'd be Wednesday, you revise the mentor sentence. Model this with a closed sentence. You may have learned in Emergent or actually in Reading Writing the Content area, we talked about closed writing a little bit, where you take out words from a sentence and students fill in the blanks. So you take out Sarah, you take out different, it's up to you what parts you take out, but let the students brainstorm with you what to put in the sentence. This is shared writing, okay? Remember when we're doing our gradual release, the I do, we do, you do, this is a we do right here. Let the students brainstorm how to revise this sentence. So instead of Sarah, we could say Mrs. Hartwell. Instead of tumbled, we could say climbed. Instead of out of bed, I could change bed to she climbed out of the ceiling. She climbed out of the bushes. I don't know. Be creative. On day 4, students write their own sentence. So you give them like a skeleton sentence structure and you use that structure as a guide. So in day 2, we came up with the structure of the sentence. So we have a proper noun, a vivid verb, a prepositional phrase. So when we get to day 4, we have, here we go, our little outline. We have a proper noun, a vivid verb, and a prepositional phrase. In my experience, students really love day 4. I saw a 5th grade teacher using mentor sentences in her classroom, and her students really enjoyed it. They actually got excited for grammar, and these are 10-year-olds, so they don't really always get excited for grammar at that age, but these kids were, because it was tied to a book that they really liked. So on day 4, you give them the skeleton, and then they fill it in. And so here are some that I created. Annie barked at the mailman, Athena pounced on the snake, and Hank slept during the storm. All of these are true stories. My dogs have done all 3 of these things. And then day 5, you do some kind of assessment. This is just an example of a formal assessment. It could be informal, it could be an exit slip, it could be a game that you play in class, but some form of assessment to make sure that students understood what it is that you taught them that week. And so I have an invitation to edit where I wrote stumbled out of bed and they had to circle through mistakes and rewrite it correctly. I asked the question, what is a proper noun in this week's sentence? I asked them to draw a line between subject and predicate. So we're pretending I taught them all these things. If you did not teach them subject and predicate, then don't assess them on that. That's not fair. And so forth. And then what I didn't put in this PowerPoint, on day 5, the way I have seen this done in classrooms, and I have done this myself in classrooms, on Friday, you read the book for the next week. And students love to try and guess what this sentence is going to be for the next week's mentor sentence lesson. They get really excited by that. So that is the concept of mentor sentences in a nutshell. So let's recap. What I want you to do, what I'm asking you to do, is use the same mentor sentence, use the same mentor text as you used in Module 2. And I want you to write a grammar lesson plan using one of the sentences from that book. How you do the lesson is up to you. I'm not saying you have to follow this 5-day format. I'm just showing you this is a great strategy to teach grammar when you have your own classroom. But in the middle of that 5-day plan is when you would do a mini lesson, teach a mini lesson on whatever grammatical concept that you think students should know. So I would encourage you to look at standards. Pick a grade level, see what standards. If it's verb agreement, then do a lesson on verb agreement. If it's adjectives, write a lesson on adjectives. And submit this to Canvas. Yeah, I wish I could talk about this with you face to face, but I can't. But if you have questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Otherwise, continue staying safe, and I look forward to seeing you in August.